Alright, welcome to the second video where we're going to set up a virtual reality environment for the VIVE controller, and we will implement this box as we've seen before. I will pause the video several times to try to make it short when things are loading and whatnot. So I created a C++ project for this, and the first thing I'm going to do is go to project settings, or actually to plugins under edit menu, and rendering. We want to make sure that actually it was not rendering, it was virtual reality. We want to make sure that Steam VR is enabled. Also, under inputs, we should be able input devices, Steam controller plugin, it's disabled, so we need to enable this also. It will tell me that I need to restart this, but before we do that, there's one more setting we need to change. Under edit project settings, if I go to rendering and scroll down, there's a setting which says instant stereo. So go ahead, enable that, and we will have to restart now because we did changes. So let me close this. I haven't done anything, that should already save, and I'll close this. And in the meantime, before actually I close this, I'm gonna show you how to do the system settings. If you go to this link, actually, which I already have opened, you will see system settings here. So I'm going to copy that, go to my documents. So I'll navigate to the folder. So I went to my projects under config, default engine. So they say here it's default engine.ini. Open that, paste, save, and exit. And now we can restart our project. So let me do that. Alright, so the project has opened. I'm going to create a new folder for my, I'm going to call them game blueprints. And we're going to create, in this case, a pawn, our own pawn where the motions will be captured. And also will create my own gameplay blueprints so we can customize our classes. So all classes, game mode, my game mode blueprint, and a pawn. I will also create a character, controller. Maybe we'll need that, we'll see. So we will go ahead and set up that we will tell the game that we want to use our game mode, the default game mode. So I went to project settings under maps and modes. Once we do that, world settings, there's this annoying thing for VR. I have not turned on my laser things yet. So I set up that one, and as a pawn I will choose my pawn, and as a player controller I will choose my controller. Now what will happen is there is already a player start, so if I start I can still move everywhere, which I don't want that. I want to be able to basically control things through my characters. So I will go ahead and fix that. Let me save. And okay, so I think I found a bug with Unreal Engine 4.14. Although we did set the default pawn and the player controller, we were able to move everywhere when we push play. So what I did is I went to all, file, save all. I closed the game, I opened it, and now it works as expected. I'm not supposed to be able to go anywhere if I put my own player controller. Now that this is working, we can go ahead and set up the pawn. The reason why, by the way, I put the my controller blueprint is because I want to make sure that these are my controls, and when I start the game, excuse me, when I start the game, I cannot move. So I'm gonna open this controller, and you know what? Let's import some meshes. And in a previous video, we've seen how we can import a controller, the actual controller for VIVE. You can watch that video if you want. I'm gonna keep the collision, and I'm gonna hit import. So this will be a static mesh that we can use for our game. There you go, that's the controller. So this is our default scene. If you don't like the name, you can add your own scene and drag it on top and it will replace it. So I want to add, according to this guy, a camera, motion controller, the static mesh, and these guys. So camera, I want to add static mesh and motion controller, and the static mesh goes under the motion controller. At this point, I'm gonna skip the particle effects and the widget interaction for another video. So controller, this is our static which we imported. What is it called again? UE4 controller. Okay. There you go. So notice how it's there and facing X. That's what we want. Now, and the motion controller is right there. Now, some of the mistakes I've done in the past is when I move my controller by itself, and when I start doing laser beams, things are not aligned together. So this is not what you want. What you really want is, let me put that back. You want to move the motion controller, which will end up moving the static mesh with it. So how much are we gonna move it? If you think about it, your hand is parallel to your face in the Z direction, so it's along it's in the same plane, YZ plane. But I'm gonna give it a little bit of motion just to help me to see it. Now, depending, maybe this is good to be I would say 60 centimeters minus 60, and actually this one, no, this is why I will do 40 centimeters. This is left, so it's gonna be minus 40, so that's the face over there, the camera, and the controller is about minus 40. And this is too far. This would be something like, depending on how far your hands are, I would say, how much, 70 centimeters, minus 70. So now we have this. This may look huge at the moment, but we can scale that later. It's left hand. We do want that. That should be it to get this thing working. So compile, save, and I'm gonna pause the video to set up my motion controller. Okay, so I set up the Steam VR controller and I tried it out. and it did not work immediately. So what happened is I needed to close Steam, right click quit, same as Steam VR. Maybe because my game engine crashed at some point in the past. So I had to close everything, open everything again. Then it started working, but the controller was huge. So I went to the static mesh and I scaled it to 0.1, 0.1, 0.1. And I will hit play. I went here and I selected VR preview. I hit play and there's the controller. So I can move around, look around. Now let's make sure that our frames per second are high. So I'm gonna go to the game mode and I'm gonna at the begin play execute. I think the command is stat FPS, and there you go. The frames per second are actually, as you can see now, they're not as high as they're supposed to be. They're about 70, 60. So part of that is I have lots of lights that I don't need. So let me remove these guys. You don't want reflection. You don't want shadows. So this becomes like trial and error phase. Actually, let me try again. It's still low, so I'm gonna keep deleting things from here. Eventually, it did not show, so maybe you have to run twice. And let me play with the world settings. Reduce the global distance. I don't need to see the whole world. And there's something with lighting. Reduce that to 1. And go to the controller. Static mesh. Cast shadow. Remove that. Compile. Save. And let's try now. Still not reaching the 90. I'm gonna pause the video and see around what's going on. Maybe I have too many programs open at the same time. Actually, that could be it, because I'm trying to capture the screen and render. I'm gonna try that. Okay, so guys, it seems that when I'm capturing the video, I cannot reach 90, but it reaches 90 when I'm in standalone. Perhaps I did not need to remove everything from my scene that I removed, but you don't want reflections. You want to optimize the shadows and lighting. Your priority number 1 is reaching 90 frames per second. The next video probably will add laser. I'll talk about how to add that, and then we'll make another video to see how to interact with the environment with this controller. Thank you for watching.